All right, everybody. Once again, this is James over at Aptora. I'm your demo host today. We're going to get started with our Total Office Manager demonstration. I'm going to take you through a few PowerPoint slides, take you into the software, show you around real quick, open it up to Q&A, and we should have plenty of time for Q&A. There's really no time limit on the Q&A part, so if you have questions, be sure to ask any questions that you might have. When you get ready to ask questions, you might want to put in that audio pin if you haven't done so. Looks like most of you have, but we'll talk about that more later if you would like to. If you find that you're having problems or you have questions, you can put up your electronic hand. There should be a little hand icon. When you click it, I'll know that you have a question. Let's hold the software questions for the end, though, because I'm going to take all of our questions in a group after this short PowerPoint covered, what am I trying to call the PowerPoint presentation? That's it. That shouldn't have been so hard. Go over a few slides with you, and then we'll run the software and see if you have questions. Can your business software think like a contractor? Probably half your business is losing money. Do you know which half? How many software programs are running your business? For many of you, it's way too many. The frustration with off-the-shelf accounting software is it was not built for contractors. Many of you are using generic off-the-shelf software that you have to buy a bunch of add-ons to run your company. Add-ons like scheduling or dispatching or payroll, flat rate pricing, GPS. You end up entering the same data more than once. Some of you are doing double, triple entry. Another frustration is that in our industry, in the service industry, we're mobile. Our technicians are mobile, but in many cases our software isn't mobile. So we waste a lot of time re-entering invoices and work orders and estimates and payments from information that came in from the field. And many of us have paper-based systems that don't integrate with our software. So we're filling out forms in the field only to have those paper forms double entered when you get to the office, or even worse, in a filing cabinet somewhere where you can't readily access that information. So how can you reduce your accounting efforts and maximize your efficiency in the field? How can you increase your profits? By considering investing in Total Office Manager. That's how. Total Office Manager was built specifically for the contracting industry. We are HVAC people. Total Office Manager has won a lot of awards. If you want to check out all the awards, please go to aptora.com. We have numerous 5 out of 5-star ratings with various review services. We've been in the industry for 18 years. We have over 16,000 clients nationwide, with many users in Canada and Australia. So when I say nationwide, I'm talking about the United States. I know some of you are from outside the United States. We have customers in the United States, Canada, and Australia, and a few peppered around elsewhere, but mostly in those 3 places. There's 5 reasons to consider Aptora's Total Office Manager. Number 1, built by contractors for contractors. The reason why that's important is unless you have actually done the work, you don't know how to write software to manage the work. It's that simple. It's totally integrated. It's one program doing everything. It produces industry-specific reports, key performance indicators, key ratios for our industry. We have a smart scheduling and dispatching system, and we integrate completely with Aptora Mobile 2, Aptora Form Builder, and our new dashboard system. And I hope I have questions on that one. One of the most important things to think about with Total Office Manager is that it was built by contractors. Unless you've been in the contracting industry, you don't really understand all the little nuances that go into running a business, and we do. And you'll see lots of those little things really add up in our software. Number 2, total integration. It stands alone by itself. It's one program to manage your entire business. So you've got accounting, payroll, dispatching, scheduling, GPS, all in one program. This makes life easier for you and your coworkers because it's one program to learn. And there's never any double entry. All of that saves you money. Number 3, industry-specific reports. Fully departmentalized reporting. How would you like to be able to print out an income statement for your service department, an income statement for your commercial division, residential division, maybe an income statement for your replacement department, all down to the net profit? Maybe you'd like to track sales by truck, by salesperson, by technician. There's lots of key performance indicators and financial ratios showing you where you are at, where you should be, and where the rest of the industry typically is. There is a fantastic scheduling and dispatching system, drag and drop appointments, sales calls, work orders, and more. There's full GPS and map integration. That way you can see on a map where all of your technicians are in relationship to where they should be in real time. And again, this is one program doing all those things. You're not buying extra software to learn and pay for and try to get support on. One option is your Aptora Mobile 2 integration. This is your virtual office connection. This is a powerful mobile app that allows you to empower your service technicians, empower your salespeople, eliminate double entry, and maybe most importantly, allow you owners and managers to manage your business and oversee your business from anywhere in the world. You can dispatch people from your sofa. You can track your business on a cruise ship while you're on vacation. Your spouse will hate it, but that's what I do. My phone tells me everything that's going on in the business, right down to who logged into the software, who did what, how many phone calls, inbound, outbound calls. Heck, I even know how many times the phone rang at the office from anywhere in the world. So with that in mind, let me show you the product. Like I said, we will go through the software very quickly, and then I will open this up to Q&A. So if you have any questions, you'll be able to ask them. Here I have Total Office Manager running already. The only thing you missed was me logging in. I selected my username. I typed in a password. Now, there's lots of ways to use this software. You can see we have a workflow navigator. We have an information center here on the left-hand side that gives us quick access to phone messages, appointments, work orders, pending reminders, things like that. You don't have to set up your software this way. It can look a lot different if that's what you would like, but that's the way it comes out of the box. That's the default look. You can change the configuration and the colors quite a bit. I'm going to close this form here. These are the phone messages, very handy feature. When I put a phone message in, you will see that at your desk. If you're logged into Total Office Manager, you will see that you have a phone message, and you will be able to open up a list of phone messages and simply double-click and return that call. Now, if you're using our mobile software, this is what it might look like. Now, I'm showing you our mobile software using a browser, which you can do yourself. I can't obviously show you my tablet, so I have it open in a browser. I'm logged in right now, and you can see that I have 4 phone messages right here. These are my phone messages. I can click to open my phone messages, and I can dial that phone number using my mobile application. So phone messages that are put in here, they show up in here. And it's easy to lift that message, push the phone number with your finger, dial the phone, put in notes. The minute that you mark that call as read, or you've put in notes that you've returned the call, the office will see that instantly here. It's that easy. Now we have a fantastic schedule board to manage all of your work orders, your sales calls, your appointments. You can hover over your service technicians to get information about that particular work order. And here I am hovering over my various people. Maybe you recognize this famous person, that famous person right there. Maybe it'll be extra credit if any of you can tell me who that guy is and who that guy is. Now that's crazy Peter. He's a real service technician, but these guys aren't. That guy is not, and that guy is not, and maybe you recognize that person. So you can set up this schedule board to look just about any way you'd like it to look. You can sort through all of your opened appointments. You can sort through all of your unscheduled work orders. Hover over a work order for details, like I'm doing here. You might look and see what tools and equipment you have available. You can assign tools and equipment to the schedule board just like people, which makes sense if you think about it. Maybe your company, maybe you have a plumbing company and you have a pipe threading machine. Well, that pipe threading machine cannot be at 2 places at one time, right? So you should be able to schedule that pipe threading machine like you would people. You can do that in Total Office Manager. And while you're at it, you can check out where your people are at any given moment by going into the optional mapping feature that you see here, and you'll be able to see where they're supposed to be. And with a click of a button, you can easily see where your vehicles are. The board will refresh itself automatically. You can always refresh the board manually. If you hover over a vehicle, you'll be able to see who's driving the vehicle, how fast they're going, are they stopped, started, their speed. You'll be able to hover over your sales calls, see who's been assigned to that sales call, and you'll be able to see who's en route to that sales call. With the mapping feature, you will know where your important assets are, and those are your people and your trucks and your clients. What's more important than those 3 things? This shows you where those 3 important things are at any given moment. So the schedule board has mapping completely built into it. Now, there's a lot of things I can tell you about the schedule board. We could easily spend an hour talking about the board and how to configure it. It's highly customizable. There's lots of ways to present the data. Probably one of the most important features to show you is the profile feature. The profile feature allows you to set up your own groups of people to look at. These could be jobs, important jobs, departments, maybe your sales and marketing people. So right now I'm looking at service technicians. Watch when I click over to my sales and marketing people. That's Ashley and Dan, and I can see their appointments for the day. It's easy to rearrange their appointments like you see me doing here. Maybe the customer called to change the start time or to maybe change the end time. It's easy to rearrange their schedule. You can flip back over to the installation group. You can look to see what work orders have parts on order, etc. So there's a lot that you can do with our electronic schedule board and the mapping system. If you find that you have questions about that, be sure to hit me up during the Q&A, and I'd be happy to talk more about the schedule board. Now, you can't see my second monitor, but keep in mind, you can slide this over to your second monitor, and that way you have your schedule board and or your mapping on another monitor. You can also open multiple instances of the schedule board. So I can have 1, 2, 3 schedule boards opened at any given moment. I can even run the software multiple times on the same computer. Of course, you can have the same form open multiple times. I say of course, that's a given around here, but maybe not with your present software. You might have noticed with your present software, it doesn't multitask very well. With Total Office Manager, you can open up an invoice once, twice, 3 times. Somebody might interrupt you and want that, and maybe they want you to write a check for postage. So here you are getting ready to write a check, and you want to look at another check and see how much you wrote it for. You can have the same form open multiple times. And again, if you try that in your present software, you might have noticed you can't do that. Using our software, not only can you have the same form open multiple times, but you can have lots and lots of forms opened at any given moment. Now, speaking of forms, one of the most important forms to show you is arguably the customer list. The reason why I want to show you the customer list is you'll probably spend a lot of time in the customer list. I'm going to click Customers and open the customer list here. One thing great about our lists is the fact that they are highly customizable. You can resize these columns like you do in Excel. You can add or subtract columns. You can rearrange columns to meet your needs. Maybe you'd like to see the balance here, and we'll put that there. or maybe you'd prefer to have the name here. You can search, sort, and filter on any of these columns and fields. You'll notice I've got lots and lots of columns available. You don't have to have that many if you don't want to. You can see this is a lot of information, but this could be very handy for you to search and sort through, finding answers. Now, you also have the ability to pick from various fields to search for. So let's click, let's do last name. There's last name. And I'll start typing in my last name, L-E-I. The program will go find all instances of L-E-I, and it gave me 3 options, and there I am. Now here I can right-click, and I've got dozens of options. I can go to my Actions menu. I could create invoices and sales and credits and estimates and sales proposals. I could enter sales leads, create purchase orders for this customer. I could receive payments, create work orders, phone messages, appointments, service agreements, batch update, all kinds of different things. There's the customer job menu here. I've got reports available. I can also right-click. Usually I like to right-click, or I will double-click to open the customer. One option you have is for the software to present you with various warnings, like they are over their credit limit, or they have past due invoices, or the dog bites, the keys under the mat, you're going to need a special ladder, etc. This person is on credit hold. So I picked a real deadbeat here. They're on credit hold. I'll click OK. Now at the very top of this form, you can see that I instantly know the customer balance information. Here's why they're such a deadbeat. They owe us $51,800 and change, and it's over 90 days old. I can see that they have a service agreement. I can see their bill to, their work address. I can see their whole family, family's contact information, Facebook information, etc. I've got lots of additional info here. I've got user-defined fields. An unlimited number of user-defined fields can be added. You notice that I'm using them for air filter sizes, birth dates, etc. Payment information, there's my default credit card, job information. If I click the menu button, you can see there is probably another hour of discussion here. There's all kinds of things that I can show you in this form. But I'm going to go ahead and click Cancel. I'm going to go back to that name and right-click on it. And this is what I typically would do, is go straight into History. Now, this is my favorite feature in the software, History. And it'll probably become your favorite feature as well. The history form is accessible from most anything in the program. Your employees, your vendors, your assets, your customers, jobs, they all have a history form. And you notice by looking at these tabs, you can see every sale you've ever made. And when you highlight on the sale, it shows you information about that sale. So you don't even have to open it. You can see how much the sale was, how much they owe you. You can see all your work orders, all your service agreements. If you'd like to double click on any of these things, you can. So here I can double click on a service agreement. Service agreement has its own history, by the way. So I can see everything that was done under that service agreement. All of their equipment. If you'd like to, you could open up a piece of equipment, just double click on it. Here's the equipment. You notice that you can see what's under warranty, what has expired, air filter sizes, go to menu, go to history. Yep, equipment has history. You'll be able to see every repair ever made to this piece of equipment, regardless of ownership. So even if the building or the home has changed hands, you will be able to see who owned it back then, what work was done, is the part still under warranty, etc. And by the way, all of this is in mobile. So if you were to go to mobile, you would see the same thing. Let me do this for you. Let me click More, go to Lists, go to Customers. There's an easier way to do this, but this is how I'm going to do it for the demo. I'm going to open up my name right here. Notice he's on credit hold, like you saw that earlier. I'm going to go down to Customer Equipment. Notice the history button right there. I've got all their history. I'm going to go to their equipment, open up the customer's equipment. and we were looking at this furnace here. I'm going to open the furnace, and there's the equipment. I can see what's under warranty, when it was installed. I can see a photograph of the equipment right there. If you're using our app, you can take more photographs. Here's the warranty information. Parts, labor, general warranty have all expired. Manufacturer's warranty is still in effect. Here are notes, user-defined fields, equipment history. So there's the same list that you were looking at earlier. See this list over here on the left-hand side? We're looking at the same list over here. And just like in Total Office Manager, you could double-click to open the invoice. Here's the invoice in the desktop right there. So now you're looking at the invoice. In the mobile, you could do the same thing. You could open up mobile, click on an invoice, and there's the invoice. You're looking at all the parts that were installed. Are they under warranty? Did they sign it? How much did they pay? Is it paid, etc.? Can you imagine how handy this is for your service technician to be able to look over all this history in the field without contacting the office? And everything they update in the field instantly updates to the office. Everything the office updates instantly updates to the mobile. We own the mobile software, so there's no strange, goofy synchronization or end-of-the-day posting or anything like that. Everything done in one program is instantly seen in the other program. All right, we could talk more about mobile if you'd like to. Of course, mobile can do a lot more. This software has about 425 reports. As I mentioned earlier, the income statements can be fully departmentalized. That means that you can automatically allocate overhead to each department, and you'll be able to see the net profit of each of your departments. You'll be able to see marketing information, sales closure rates, etc. So if you're interested in seeing how your marketing is performing, then you would just pick a report. We'll see if I have any info in this report. Oh, I do. Good. All right, so here's our marketing report. Oh, 26 pages. I got 26 pages of marketing information in this report. So this would show you how effectively your marketing is doing in one report. There's, as I mentioned, there's reports on sales, closure rates by product category, by salespeople, etc. There are over 420 reports, as I mentioned, so there's no way I can show you all the reports that are in the software, but I would like to show you maybe one of the most favorited reports. That is the Executive Summary Report. This report is meant for you owners, high-level managers. This is your headline, newspaper type of summary of your company. This is what you would want to look at every day to see how well you're doing. It'll show you cash on hand, your accounts receivable, accounts payable, sales for the day, yesterday's sales, last week, last month's sales, all compared to the prior year. You'll see how many service agreements you have, how many work orders were resolved today, how many sales you made today. You'll see your cash flow for the year, net profit for the year, etc. See top marketing, top salespeople. There's even a super condensed income statement quickly showing you your income, gross profit margin, net profit, etc. 3 pages of that for you to look at. The bookkeeper has his or her own version of this. Plus, in mobile, you have access to that report. Let's go back to the home page. Here I am in mobile. I will click More. I'll click Financials, Executive Summary. Here's all the same info. Go to your key indicators. You can see the speed of this thing. There's our cash on hand, AR, AP, quick ratio, collection period, bills due in the next 7 days, invoices due in the next 7 days. There's some big ones coming in. Active service agreements, sales for the day, work orders resolved, etc. You have all that information at your fingertips. You even have an income statement. So you can look at your income statement right here, even pick a graph to look at. So here's your, let's do current year to date. Yeah, so there we go. So there is our income statement, and you'll be able to pick the difference, last year, current year, whatever you'd like to do. So mobile, again, very capable software. We can talk more about that later if you'd like to, but you have lots of financial information at your fingertips should you want it. You have access to your flat rate books to improve your customer presentation. That's all built in. Another thing that you might like is the ability to see dashboards about individual employees or groups of employees. This is an optional program. You can look at this on our website, aptora.com. The dashboard feature would allow employees to see where they stand in certain key areas like service agreement sales, total sales. Here you can see Ashley Adams is in first place on total sales, first place on service agreement sales. She's not rated on work orders completed currently. This is her current status. She's on this work order. Her next appointment is here, and we have no location information. If we did, it would show a map of her current whereabouts. We could also see sales information about the company or about the employee if we wanted to give that. Now, if you're an administrator, you've also got company information available to you. Here's your company dashboard. Let's open up the service agreement dashboard. So here you are looking at your entire company, and you can see who's doing how well in different areas. Now, we also design these dashboards to pop up on TV screens that you can mount in your office. One of the things we had in mind for you to kind of paint the picture of this was for you to get a Wi-Fi enabled TV. They're not expensive these days. Mount it to your wall. Maybe this is private in your office. Maybe it's in the lunchroom. And you can display the different dashboards that you want people to see. That way, they can keep track of how well they are doing or how well the company is doing with service agreement sales and things like that. You might have CSRs, as you call them, customer service representatives. Maybe you want to show them phone data. So you might display the phone activity dashboard on a wall near your CSRs. You as an owner, if you have a little bit of money to spend this year, I would buy multiple monitors, mount them to your wall, and keep track of all of these things in your office. You come into your office, turn on your TV sets, get a universal remote, turn them all on at once, turn on your TV sets, and you can monitor everything that's going on in your company in real time. And don't forget, you can always pull out your phone and monitor these things from your telephone using our fully integrated app. All right, so there's a lot more we could say about Total Office Manager. There's many things that I have not showed you. There's lots of features, lots of capabilities. There is the form builder that allows you to create your own checklists in the field. You can create your own post and pre-job survey forms. You can create sales proposals in the field, design them yourself, access them to Aptora Mobile. You could open those forms in Total Office Manager instantly. So we could talk about that during Q&A. In fact, there are about 580 forms in this software. And as I mentioned, over 420 reports. So there's a whole lot of things we haven't talked about. We haven't talked about the fully integrated Sales Opportunity Manager. We have not talked about payroll. We haven't shown you much regarding service agreements. We haven't shown you job costing, certainly. So there's lots of things we can talk about, but it's the bottom of the hour. We've been together 30 minutes. I wanted to stop and open this up to Q&A. If you have a question, you can raise your electronic hand. There should be a little button that looks like a hand. When you click it, I'll know that you have a question, and I'll be able to unmute you. And I notice Sean doesn't have his PIN number in. I'm going to send you your PIN number real quick, Sean, in case you wanted to ask a question. Does anybody have a question for us? All right, our first question. Let me unmute you. And is it Ahmed?
Yes, it's Ahmed.
Oh, good. I got it right. Thank you very much for your question. Go ahead.
No problem. I wanted to know if the app is Android, Apple, or Windows-based.
Oh, good question. So the actual app is Android, and we do have a browser-based app in case you have Windows equipment, a Windows phone, or an Apple phone. So in other words, you would open it up in a browser, and it would look just like mine. And it would look like an app and function like an app. You can see that I'm actually using a browser. So if you don't have Android, you could use the browser-based version. We do plan to come out with an i version or an Apple version, but it just takes more time to get it approved.
Perfect.
So we focus on Android.
And if the technician is in a house with no connection, is the data saved offline and then sync as soon as the connectivity is available, or it
does not. It doesn't. That's a good question, an important question. I'm glad somebody asked it. So this is not unlike your Facebook application you might have on your phone. If you can't connect to the internet, it can't do much of anything. It's going to have you retry, and only when you have a connection are you going to be able to save the information. None of this information is stored on your phone for security reasons. So if you don't have internet access, you would not be able to see your work orders or look up information.
Got it. Thank you. I have more questions, but I'll let everybody else ask questions before I...
Yeah, you can keep going. For everyone else, if you raise your electronic hand, then I will just go from one person to another and try to keep as much order as I can. But in the meantime, just feel free to shoot. Go ahead with another one.
Okay, sure. Is there any way to track inventory without affecting the financial statement?
Yeah, that's kind of a deep question. So the question was, is there any way to track inventory without affecting the financials? Most people would give you an answer of no. No, there isn't any way. But there really is. If you put your inventory in as a non-asset item, so it's a non-inventory part, it has no value, then you could add items, you could subtract items, you could sell items, receive items, and your financials would never get affected. So it is possible. It isn't what we had in mind. What we had in mind was very robust item tracking, inventory tracking. But yes, you could have inventory in the system that does not affect your financials.
Just for a couple of months, because we need this. We don't have an inventory system in place, and we want to put the inventory system in place without affecting the financials until we do the correct count and everything else before we make it live. Yeah, that's...
Yeah, no, you could definitely do that. That'd be fine.
Okay.
I'll tell you
great.
something.
Go
ahead. Oh, I was just going to say something about inventory management that I probably ought to point out real quick. This is my contractor background speaking here. One of the problems with tracking inventory was that our vendors all had different part numbers. So I'm not sure what you guys do for a living. I'd like to use Freon, refrigerant, for an example. Here is refrigerant, R410A25. So that's refrigerant 410 in a 25-pound container. That part number makes a lot of sense. And I can easily go see how much of this I have on all of my vehicles. So you can see it right here. But suppose I needed to
question.
Good.
Inventory.
Yeah, so here you can see all of your inventory, who's got that inventory, where it's at. It's easy to adjust it and move it around. So that's easy to do. Here's something that's really subtle but very unique, and I think only a contractor would think of this. I want to open up what we call the item alias form. What this allows you to do is put the part number in that all of your vendors use. So that way when you create a purchase order, it can use their part number when it prints, but on the screen it's your part number. That way you can have your own universal part numbers for things, and the vendors can still have their weird part numbers that don't make any sense. Here's another thing. When you or your service technicians go to scan the barcode that's already on the package, it will recognize the part number from the vendor and cross-reference it to your part number. That way you never have to print your own barcode labels. You would simply scan their barcode label and it would recognize your part number, even though, of course, that barcode wasn't printed by you.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
That's really
And I know we have questions from a couple other people, but did you have a follow-up to that?
And not follow up to that, but I have other questions. I'll just let other people.
All right, Ahmed, I'm gonna put you on mute then, and I'm going to go to, well, Sean doesn't have his PIN number in there. So Sean, you have to actually enter your audio PIN, and then I can unmute you. It's not my rules. I'm sorry for the inconvenience, but that's how GoToWebinar works. You actually have to put in your PIN, and then I can unmute you, and I sent you your PIN number. So in the meantime, I'm going to unmute Richard, and we're going to go to Richard. Go ahead, please.
I like the alias part number thing, but what we have is we purchase an item, like we might purchase a bucket of chemicals, but then we sell it by the scoop. Do you have
right.
part conversion?
No, not quite. We have a workaround that's not perfect for that. You would have to put in the number of units. So like, for example, if you bought a 64-ounce container and you sell it by the ounce, then you would either sell 1/64th if you wanted an ounce, or you would buy a 64-ounce container by buying 64 1-ounces and then selling it by the ounce. So it's not perfect in the sense that you can't pick that particular type of measurement, but there is a fairly acceptable way to handle that, and many of our users do what you're doing. Mostly they buy things in a bundle and sell it by the foot. So they buy 10-foot pieces of things and sell it by the foot, or 500-foot spools of things and sell it by the foot or the yard.
We just got to change our unit of measure going in.
Yes, yeah, you have to change it when you buy those items, the unit of measure. Now that's something on the drawing board. You know, this program does a lot of great things, but it's not finished, it's not perfect. That's on the drawing board. We update this thing about every 2 weeks. We have an update for features once a month, and we update it every couple of weeks if we find problems and issues. So we're real aggressive on updating. Eventually we'll have a better job for a better system for unit of measure. But I'd give us about a B as in Bravo minus, on that particular feature.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, good question. Did you have a follow-up for that, Richard?
Not so much on inventory. I might have another question down the road.
Okay, all right. Well, Sean, we still have a problem with your audio pin, but I see your hands up, and there's no way I can unmute you without the audio pin in there. They don't allow it, unfortunately. So I'll send you your audio pin again, and maybe that'll take care of it. All right, on inventory, we had good questions on inventory. I'd like to show you something else about inventory that I think is pretty neat. There are times you're going to want to open up this inventory list, and I'm going to open it up right now, put Richard back on mute. This is the inventory item list. Like the rest of the list, it's customizable. You can add or subtract fields. You'll notice that I have a part number, I have a description, I have year-to-date purchased, very handy, the price, the total quantity on hand, who I like to buy it from, how much I sell it for. I'll scroll over here, see what category it's in. My purchase description can be different. My on-hold quantity, my available quantity, and by the way, we do have an item reserve feature. That way you can reserve items for people. I'll explain that very briefly. What I mean is, let's say you have 100 in stock, but somebody wants to buy 50 of your widgets. You can put 50 on hold. So the software will tell you that you have 100 in your building, but only 50 are available, and it will not let you grab those from the customer you're holding them for. You'll be able to see the average price you paid, the date you last sold it, very handy to decide if you want to reorder. So you'll be able to see how many you got, how many you sold this year, how many you've sold forever, when's the last time you sold it, how many are on reserve. You'll be able to see the manufacturer, the income accounts that it's related to, etc. Now, another thing you can do with this invoice list is you can create complicated filters, just like you can with any list. You can grab any of these fields. You can have equal to, greater than, less than, starts with, begins with. So here you're picking different fields. You're using and or operators, and that would allow you to create complicated searches that you can save under a name. And you'll notice I've got a search for CSI items. I've got a search for flat rate tasks. I've got a search for service agreements. Or I can show only active, maybe show everything, even if it's inactive. If that's not good enough, I can right-click and I can open up the entire list in Excel. So here I am working with a completely editable Excel spreadsheet. And you know how Excel works probably as well as I do. You can go in here and format your cells, do things with the data, update the data, and even re-import the information back into the software. All of your lists work like that. So if you wanted to go open up your work order list, you could do that. Here's your work orders. You could create these complicated filters I talked about. And you'll notice I've got some like show me canceled, show me incomplete work orders, show me work orders that we're waiting on parts, show me work orders today that have not been invoiced, etc. And if that's not good enough, just like any of the lists, right-click, and you can open up the entire thing in Microsoft Excel. Now, all of the data can be found in these lists, and all of these lists can be opened in Microsoft Excel for manipulation. It's great when you want to create like a quick report or get quick answers on the fly. There's other features that I haven't gone into, like splitting the frames. Here you can split frames like you do in Excel, and that allows you to have a place marker so you can see where you're at from left to right. One more thing about invoice items that you might be interested in, and then I'll pause. Maybe you want to create a truck stock list. You can do that. Notice down here I have truck stock list 102. You can add more if you'd like. You don't have to have this truck stock list. You can build a different one. But the software will allow you to create truck stock lists, and that way you can have a certain list for a certain truck configuration. And as you saw earlier, you would be able to see how many items you have on hand so that you can populate those trucks. You can restock those trucks. There's also reports, by the way, that allow you to see what you sold for the day. We also have reordering utilities. So you can go down to our inventory replenishment system and have the software automatically reorder parts for you as you reach certain levels of on-hand quantity. So as you can see, I could go on and on talking about the software. There are sales proposals. You can do estimates, change orders, job costing we haven't talked about. Any questions from anybody? Anything you'd like to see? And Richard, he's got his hand back up. I'm going to unmute you. Go ahead, please.
I just wanted to talk about security. I mean, there's a lot of features available, but how much limitation can we put on users?
Oh, man, I'm glad. Yeah, I'm glad you asked that. Thank you. So the good thing about this Q&A is I'm not just giving you a bunch of info you don't care about. That's why I like to keep it short and do plenty of Q&A. So I'm in no hurry here. First thing I want to do is show you the audit trail. Everything a user does is in this audit trail. For example, you can see the date, the time, the name of the user, the name of the computer. You can see the form that they manipulated, like they put an estimate in. You can see the number of the estimate. You can see what they did. They added an estimate or they added a change order. You'll see the version number of the software. If we think it's important, we also have a series of red flags. So down here, the software records things like they post-dated something, they backdated something, they changed the quantity on hand for an item. This right here, an employee changed a timesheet of another employee, and we can see a note about exactly what they changed. So the audit trail is all-knowing. It never ends. It has no limit. It's always turned on. It can never be turned off. In addition to that, when people do create things like an invoice, you will know who created the invoice because at the bottom of the invoice it gives you their name. So this was created from the mobile device, and it was edited by Ashley Adams. So we know that. Now, let me show you the other aspect of security. You have the ability to control on a form-by-form, report-by-report basis who can open, view, add, edit, void, inactivate, or delete any form. So here's a list of all those forms. In this list are all your reports. And you decide if I'm allowed to delete a check or void a check. You decide if I can delete an invoice or inactivate or void an invoice. You have full control over what I do. And remember, no matter what I'm allowed to do, everything I do is written to that audit trail. And that's true with mobile also. Mobile has the same type of permissions. Did that take care of that concern, Richard?
Yeah, it does. But can we set up like groups of employees? So if I had a new employee that came in, I guess we can copy from.
Yeah, we have a couple of features. You can create a security template, like I have accounting bookkeeper. But you can also go find somebody that might have the same exact permissions and just apply that. So your choice.
Okay.
And same with mobile too, by the way.
Yeah, that answers that question.
So security is really good in the software. Another thing I haven't even shown any of you, I don't usually get into this stuff. In case it matters, you can even set up permissions by warehouse. So let's say that, Richard, you're the boss, you're the owner, but you'll have permission for every warehouse, of course. But let's say that your coworker, John, should only be able to mess with truck 102. I can keep him out of all the other trucks. He won't even be able to see what's in stock. He can't even select those other trucks. For all he knows, the company has one physical location, and it's truck 102. So that way you can assign security even by warehouse. That's really handy for larger companies. It may not apply to most of you. It's also very handy when you have different locations, something that our bigger customers appreciate. But I wanted to throw that out in case it mattered, as long as we're on the topic of security. Follow up to that, Richard?
Not necessarily to do with security, but I am curious about customized reports. Or I mean, it looks like you've got quite a few reports, just canned. But if I want something, say like a crystal report, where I could pull my...
Yeah. So you have a couple of options. The very advanced option is you can build reports from our database using crystal reports if you want to. Many of you may not know it, but you can build reports by connecting to the database in Microsoft Excel. So you can actually use Excel to connect to the database. You could use crystal reports to connect to the database or other reporting tools. Microsoft SQL Server has its own reporting system built into their full-blown version. We give you their free version. Their full-blown version has its own reporting system built in. We also give you the ability to serve up data, like you can see I'm looking at, say, customer equipment right here. So I'll open up a list of customer equipment, and I'll build a report from it. So I'm going to go to Setup. I'm going to go to Add New, and I have a little report writer built in. So on customer equipment, I can put their account number here, maybe the department name, and maybe the equipment description and the equipment location, and then I can preview it to see if that makes any sense and go through the different pages. And of course, that doesn't look too good, so you go back to the designer and you start creating your own report. And when you're done, you can give it a name. and then that'll become part of your report list. So you can create reports of your own, and we give you lots of these data sets to work from. And then again, if you're in a bind, don't forget, you've always got Excel. So you can always open up the data in Excel, and we meant for that to be your last ditch. The program isn't giving me what I want option. Does that answer your question, Richard?
Yeah, that answers it.
Okay, good. Well, I'm going to unmute Sean and address your question. Thanks for being patient and getting that PIN number thing figured out. Go ahead, please.
I come from a pool industry, and one of the entities not only does service and repairs, but we also do weekly service. So there's a regular repeat schedule, and then also repeat invoicing that's correlated to that.
Yeah, so you would be interested in our memorize transaction feature. In our software, you can memorize transactions, and that basically is a duplicate feature, kind of like QuickBooks has. If you've used QuickBooks, it's very much like QuickBooks. So pretty much anything involving money, I say pretty much, anything I can think of that involves money, such as invoices and bills and even adjusting journal entries, have a feature that we call Memorize. When you click the Memorize button, it gives you the ability to give the memorized set of transactions a name. You can have a reminder, yes or no. You can have them repeat daily, weekly, every couple of weeks, every month, quarterly, biannually, triannually, etc. You can pick a start date, pick an end date, and once you click OK to that, then that invoice will create itself. And you'll be able to get a reminder that it's created or have it create itself silently. Work orders work the same way. You right-click on a work order. In a work order, we call it duplicate, and you can have the work order duplicate itself automatically on the same schedule if you prefer. Now, also, one thing I should mention, work orders can be converted to invoices. So you can open up your work order list and go to work orders not invoiced, and the only thing you have to do is start selecting these work orders and click a few things to turn them into invoices. Some people have the invoice create itself automatically. Some companies prefer to have the work orders on a schedule, but they manually generate the invoice. It's totally up to you, but you have all those options in front of you. Does that answer that question, Sean?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, those repeat invoices, are you able to email those out, like say they're monthly? Or do you print them out, or can you do both?
You can print them out in a batch method. So you can go in and print out 100, 200, 500, whatever. To email them, though, they have to be emailed one at a time. And the reason why is we're using Outlook. So you have to click it, like there's probably about 3 mouse clicks, email it. 3 mouse clicks, email it. 3 mouse clicks, email it. We do plan to interface with MailChimp. So MailChimp will email them out for you, but we just haven't gotten that interface finished yet. MailChimp is not our product, by the way, I should explain. MailChimp is this email system for sending out emails in bulk and newsletters and things like that. Software really can't do a good job of it because most of your email providers will block emails going out too fast. So like if we queued up, say, 25 emails and just shot them off, after a while your provider will block it. It'll definitely block 250. So there's no way most of us can ever send more than 250 in one 24-hour period of time. So we haven't put a lot of energy into bulk emailing on the PC, but we are interfacing with MailChimp, which is a very popular bulk email system. Okay?
Okay.
So I give I give too long of answers sometimes, don't I?
What about like scheduling though? The weekly schedules as a repeat weekly schedule.
Yeah, yeah. So that's easy to do. Now, there's many ways to do it. So you could open up your schedule board, and I'm going to drag it back over here because it was on my second monitor. If you have a work order in here already, then you can right-click on the work order, and you can create a copy of the work order, or you can create duplicates of the work order, your choice. When you create a copy, it makes just one. So in this case, we'll want to create duplicate. And again, that came up on my second monitor, so you can't see it. I'll go ahead and pop it up right there. So here's our duplicate work order. I'll click the repeat button. You pick a start date, pick an end date. You decide on frequency. We saw that earlier, same thing. Day type, calendar day, or is it a business day? So what if it falls on a Sunday? Then I'm telling the software, I want you to make it Monday. And then you can assign the work order to one person or many people. Now, if I click the OK button, it could potentially generate one work order for 3 or 4 or 5 people every week for the next 2 years, if necessary. And then those would appear on your schedule board, and that's that. Was that what you were wondering about?
More or less. Let's say they got 12 or 15 stops, like the same, each day. I'm assuming that's what you would duplicate into maybe 12 or 15, 12 stops or something on Monday or whatever. Those
That's right.
At least 12 orders.
Yeah, I mean, assuming those are different customers, each are going to get different invoices, or at least assuming they're all different entities, then I would create one work order for each stop, and then I would duplicate each work order for each of those stops for as long as needed. So if you have 10 stops in a day, you will need to make 10 work orders, and then once those 10 are made, then you would right-click and click duplicate, and duplicate as many as you want. I mean, it would be a year, 2 years, however long you think you'd have those stops for sure, and they would all be finished at that point. And then each work order, this is probably obvious, but each work order can be fully edited. They just become a standard work order. So you're able to drag the work orders around, rearrange them. You can cancel work orders if you want to. You can move work orders to the next day. You can move them in bulk, by the way. So let's say they get rained out. I don't know what business you're in, but in the lawn care industry that we serve, they will have a rain out, and it's easy to move 10, 15, 25 work orders from today to tomorrow with just a couple of clicks. Did you have a follow-up to that?
It looks like, say there was an end date, you could change the end date if a customer was canceling the end of the month or something like that too.
Yeah, you could. So let's say that you created those work orders though already, and the customer called to cancel. Probably the best thing to do is to go find that customer on the work order list, and it's easy to filter them out. So you're looking at just that customer. You would go find the work orders that are incomplete, and then you would right-click on them and cancel them. You could delete them, but I'd prefer not to. I'd prefer to cancel them. Would that work for you?
Yeah.
Okay. Other follow-ups? I'll give you the floor, Sean, because you waited the longest.
What about the stops? Like, say those are repeat stops on weekly. Now, I do pool service, so let's say the guy, the dog, gotta knock on the door, make sure the dog's inside, or equipment info, or I'm assuming equipment info is pretty much the same, except I'm just tracking
equipment. Yeah,
but
equipment
the main
info
thing would be like the gate code, or the dog. Watch out for the dog.
Yeah,
like
so you got a lot of places to put that info. So let's take a look at a work order in the desktop real quick. There's lots of places to put the information. First thing is ordered by. You can put information in here, who ordered the service work, or who am I supposed to see. Client PO, that's usually for commercial, but you can put notes in there if you want to. The Notes tab is really what I wanted to show you, or pardon me, the General tab and the Notes tab. In the General tab, we have a brief 100-character description of what we're supposed to be doing. We can put in a very detailed description here if we wanted to. And then in the Notes tab, we have private notes, and these private notes can never be seen by a customer. They can never get printed. They will never be emailed. You can rest assured you can say anything rotten you want to say about the person or private, like a door code, and it's very limited access. And then finally, the last stage is the technician's notes. Now, when they're in the mobile device, they have that same info. So here's my work order. I've got one work order. I'll just click on it. I'll open the work order. Now, in my work order, I have my detailed description, my brief description. The brief description is up here at the top. I have my detailed description. I have my private notes. And then you can see I've got my technician notes. And no technician writes that nicely, do they? But anyway, there's my technician notes. So there's lots of room for notes. There's even another place I should mention. If that's not enough, you can go to what we call the contact log. Almost everything in the software has a contact log. So let me open up a real work order. That was a blank one. I'll open up a real work order. Here's Dunkin' Donuts. I'll click Menu. I'll go to Customer Contact Log. This gives me a chronological place to put in all my notes. Date, time, username. I can have topics, subjects, who I spoke with, the notes. So you even have that available to you in the desktop and the mobile. How's that look?
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna jump over to Eddie real quick. Eddie, since he's a first timer, Eddie, go ahead. Eddie, maybe you have me on mute, Eddie. I have you unmuted. I know that.
Eddie, you with us?
All right, Beth, let's go to you, Beth. Okay, Beth, I have you unmuted. Now you guys could have me muted on your own phone. Keep that in mind. All right, I'll go to Richard, and if I can't hear Richard, I know I have trouble. Richard, go ahead.
I'm just wondering about schedules, because we're also in the pool industry, but we have very segmented departments. Can we have multiple schedules by departments?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So I touched on this earlier. Let's talk a little more about it. Remember, you can have multiple schedule boards up at one time. So you could have Department A on one schedule board, Department B on another. Most people don't do that, though. They use the profile feature. What the profile feature allows you to do is very rapidly move from one department, one segment to another. Now, you define what a profile is. It could be a department, it could be a zip code, it could be a county, it could be a type of work like installation versus construction versus repair versus maintenance. But you would be able to create a list of these yourself and just simply flip through them as needed.
Okay,
does that look like it would take care of that?
Yeah, that answers that. I could see where you had it by user, but we have specific
Another thing I'd like to thing I'd like to show you related to the departments is the department list, because I think this is a really important feature. It's very simple but important. Here's our department list. You can create a hierarchical list, meaning you notice I have commercial. We would call that a top-level parent. And then under that, you can have children. And that's the actual term programmers use. It sounds silly, but there's the parent, there's the child. You can have a grandchild and a great-grandchild. And so that is called a hierarchical presentation. And it's really handy for giving you a visual representation of how your people and all your crews are laid out. So that would allow you to create a very comprehensive list of departments, and those would be used in all of your work orders, your invoices, everything, scheduling, profiles, everything else.
Perfect.
All right. Follow up to that?
This is probably my last one, but it's to do with what do you offer in terms of commission calculation?
Oh, man, that's a good one. So I'd give us an A+ on this. I gave us a B- on the unit of measurement, right? So I try to be real honest how I feel about all this. And I'm the owner of the company, by the way, the president of Aptora. We're about a 35-person company. I'm deeply involved in this. I'll tell you the truth. I'll tell you what is a C and what's an A. When it comes to most everything I've shown you, I typically give it an A. I'm going to give sales commissions an A+. In this software, you can create sales commissions that are virtually unlimited. Here I am opening up our sales commission list, and I didn't click it, did I? Here it is, commission method list. These are commission methods that I've already established. I'm going to right-click and do New, and here's the different methods. I hope you can see it okay on your computer. We can give out commissions on a fixed dollar basis, a percentage of subtotal, a percentage of direct cost, a percentage of the retail labor, a completely adjustable one, maybe more on that later, a percentage of the gross profit on material. I could pay you a percentage of our labor cost. I could give you an item commission, and each item can have its own sales commissions. I could pay you a completely different rate if you sell a service agreement. I can give you a percentage of the adjusted retail price. I can give you a percentage of the total retail price. So here, I can also click a variable button and have it vary by the amount of the invoice. So if the invoice is, say, anywhere from $100 to $500, I'll pay you a commission of 20%. And if it's up to $1,000, notice it's starting to fill itself out automatically. If it's 500 and a penny to 1,000, I'll give you 25%. And if it's $1,000 to $2,000, I might give you 30%. In addition to that, as I mentioned, each item can have its own sales commission. So you can have an item and pay a very specific commission just for that particular item. Here's the sales commission field. I can type in something there, and I can pay an extra $2 for it. Or I can exempt items, so no matter what commission you pick, certain items, services, things like that can be totally exempt. Now, each employee can have a default commission. So when you create a sales invoice, and I'm going to do that real quick here, when you create a sales invoice, it'll look to see what their default commission is. And I'm going to pick Ashley Adams is our salesperson. She's up here at the top somewhere. And I'll put an item on here, and I'll put another one on there. And then I'll go to the menu, and I'll look at my sales commissions, and it would have filled out whatever the default is. And you can see she's getting 10% of the subtotal, and that pays her $23.62. Now, I can also put another person on here if I'd like, or I can have the same person on here multiple times and pay them multiple methods. All of this is controlled through security. All of it pushes to payroll automatically for your review, and all of it can be edited if you have permission to do so.
Right.
How does that look?
Yeah, that looks pretty good, like you thought of everything.
It has our commission method, to my knowledge. I know I sound like a lawyer, and I'm not one, thankfully. To my knowledge, it satisfies everybody's commission desires. I haven't had any feature requests that I know of in a long time on sales commissions. It's a very advanced part of our software because it's something that's heavily used, like inventory, it's heavily used. So it should be pretty good for most any way any of you want to pay your people. All right.
Great.
Let's look and see if I have any other questions. I have no more hands up. Anybody else with any questions? Follow up from Richard, Sean, Beth, never heard from you. Glenda, never heard from you. Bob, never heard from you. That's okay, though. I mean, you don't want to talk to me. That's fine. All right. Just wanted to let you know I'm in no hurry. I didn't want anybody to think we're in any hurry to wrap this up. So I just wanted to be darn sure we got all of our questions asked. And I see Ahmed's hand going up and down. You're playing games with me, Ahmed, I think. And Sean, you got your hand up. Go ahead.
On the looking at, say, for example, a weekly pool cleaner making a stop, I was under the understanding you could customize a form. Let's say they're documenting readings and maybe wanting to look at history for maybe the weeks before or something.
Right.
Is there a way to customize information that's being put in on those?
Yes. Yeah, there is.
Order.
So here's a whole new product that integrates with our system. It's what we call an add-in, and we call it Aptora Mobile Form Builder. And I'll start this up. I give us an A+ on this one too. I think it's really good. So what Form Builder does is it allows you to create your own data entry forms. Darn thing logged me out. Let me log myself back in here. It kicks me out due to security, so I got to log back in real fast, and I'll show you the Form Builder. Click More, Plugins, and let's start the Form Builder up. So what the Form Builder product does for you is it allows you to create your own data input forms. Like you can see, I have a vehicle inspection report, I have a cooling system checkup, a system checkup for cooling, I have a rental agreement, I have a service agreement, that kind of thing. So those are reports that you can create. Let's click Vehicle Inspection Report. First thing it does is allows me to edit those that have already been created, or I can create new. I could optionally pick an asset that this belongs to, and I'll pick Service Truck 1, click Next. This could be a pool, by the way. It could be a piece of equipment. It doesn't matter. So the inspection date, the asset number, the serial number, these are all fields that you add. You can have data input fields. You can have yes or no's. You can have selection boxes. You decide what fields you want. You can have notes that can be entered here. Like you can see that I could type these notes in. I'm just dragging and dropping them in there. You can have a place for the customer to sign, like right here. So they would sign it. They could print their name right here. So they would just enter their name. You could pick the signature date. Now, when I hit the Save button, because it's signed, it will be uneditable, just like a piece of paper should be, right? If you sign something, you want a copy of it to prove nobody's tampered with it. Our software locks down the form. It cannot be messed with once it's signed. So here you can see the form has been signed. Now, that information is already in the desktop computer instantly. Maybe you'd like to email that form, or you'd like to print that form, or create a PDF of that form. You could. You could design your own PDFs to go along with it. And here's an optional PDF. You don't have to have the PDF, but you certainly could. So here you can see the different boxes were checked for the vehicle inspection report. That could have easily been a pool, swimming pool inspection, or any kind of other document that you want. Remember, you can get carried away with building these. These could be time off requests. Imagine me taking out my phone, putting in a time off request, a vacation request form. Maybe I want to use some of my paid time off. This would allow you to inspect company assets for safety reasons, record-keeping purposes, federal purposes. You can have federal documents added to this thing. Any PDF that you can download from the internet could be turned into one of these forms. So if you have important forms about chemical storage and handling, and you can get a hold of the PDF, you could turn that into a data input form in the mobile device. And then it would save all of that information into the PDF and render it an uneditable PDF if you desire. Any questions on that?
Could you almost do it like not a full-fledged Excel, but could you almost do it where you got like, maybe items graphed where I could see previous entries from like the week before?
Yeah, you could, because you have all that raw data in the program, and you could build a report like you saw me doing earlier and dump it into Excel if you wanted to, which I do most of that. I put most things in Excel.
But on the mobile app, could you have a way where if they're opening up that work order, whatever we want to call this, that you could see the previous entries?
Not on the same form. You would see a list of those. So in other words, you can see here we have, I'm going to go back to where I started. I had rental agreements. Let's go back to my list. Okay, so here I have a document called rental agreement, and I click on it. Well, I'm able to see the other rental agreements that were created. And if I went into the customer's form, I would see rental agreements specific to that particular customer, or it could be a job or employee or an asset for that matter. So this allows me to go see a form that was already created, if that's what you meant.
Okay.
So you'll be able to see all the prior forms that you created. You can't copy from them, by the way. There's no way to copy from that old data, but you would have all their prior forms. So in other words, if I did an inspection for a client every week for 52 weeks, I could go into that client's form, their main form, and see all 52 inspection reports. This is a rental agreement for one of our Canadian clients. I just happen to have it on my computer because I know him personally. But this just shows you the flexibility. If you guys finance people, then you could go to your bank or your finance company and get the PDF version, because Vista Credit is who's doing the financing. It isn't really him. But this is their credit app. So he fills out the credit app in mobile. He captures the signatures in mobile and sends it off to the bank. And now he's got a permanent record of the credit application. So the sky's the limit on what you can build with that thing. I know it's a lot to absorb. I mean, I could spend 8 hours a day and talk to you for 2 weeks about all this stuff. So I know it's a lot to absorb. Ahmed, I'm going to go back to you. Oops, wait a minute. I got to unmute you. Sorry, I'm going to leave all of you unmuted. Go ahead, Ahmed.
Hi, I have a question about this form builder too. It's for a pre-job and post-job, you said we can create checklists. That without that, could it be mandatory so that the work order cannot be closed or cannot be tagged as completed until that checklist is done?
Good question. So let me repeat your question because it's important. Ahmed was asking, when you create a checklist, can you somehow make the checklist a requirement where you would not be able to finish your job, maybe finish a work order, until that checklist got completed? And the answer is no. Currently, you can't. That is something that we want to do, but we just haven't gotten to it yet. So eventually, what we'd like to do is figure out a clean way, and for us, sometimes just thinking about it's harder than doing the work. We have to think of a clean way to make that happen, but we do have on the drawing board the idea of making a template, as we call it, these forms, making them required somehow. Otherwise, you couldn't close out of your work order. Currently, that's not a possibility.
Okay, what about associating them to different job types? For example, commercial or residential have different checklists. Could it be done automatically? Yeah.
Yeah, easy. No problem.
Okay, good.
You have full security on all these too, by the way. It goes without saying because you've seen it elsewhere. You can totally control the access of what people can get to and what they can look at. So there are settings for all of that. Follow up to any of that, Ahmed?
No, not to that. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So Sean, go ahead. Or did I forget to put your hand down? Maybe I did that.
No, I do have a question, but the main thing for me, I'm wondering if there's a way, a template that you can, I don't know if you could have a view where you could see, rather than having to open up history, is there a way that you could see history? I'm wondering if there's a way to customize something more towards what my techs are used to doing with entering like numbers and readings and those kind of things and line items, but more of a, not necessarily a checklist, but amounts of chemicals or those things that are being added.
Well, maybe. Let me show you guys something here. I'll show you something I'm working on personally. So my background is HVAC, plumbing, and electrical, and I have I'm a licensed master mechanic, so I'm totally into this stuff still. So I'll show you kind of a nerdy form that I'm working on myself right now. Bear with me just a minute. I'm searching my computer for it. I don't remember where I put it. Ah, here it is. Okay, so this is not for the pool industry, sorry, but this is for a cooling system. But it should give you a good idea of what you can do. What you can see here is a pretty comprehensive form where we're filling out resistance, voltage, amperage, the condition of electrical connections, etc. We're checking boxes, entering information, inches of water column, and so forth. So you could create something like this. It's very robust, that has drop-down lists that you pick from. Now remember, this is the output form. So you can have all of this in mobile. You just happen to be looking at the PDF because it makes more sense. We typically recommend you build the PDF first because we have an import utility that will attempt to convert this PDF into a mobile entry form. But this, I think, gives you an example of where you can go with it, where you can put in wind speed, current temperature, chemical used, pick from a drop-down box what the chemical was, put the amount of chemical used, etc., pH levels. Did you do a water test, yes or no? What was the pH, etc.? Is that what you were thinking?
Yes. Yeah, where you put in readings, chemical readings, and then what they're adding. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, the sky's the limit on these things. You can just really get carried away with what you can build. The only thing we don't currently do that I'd like to do is this is also on the drawing board. So when you go to add something, let me just open one of these up. We currently don't have the ability for you to put a picture in the mobile. So you can see I have contact info. We have these collapsible headers. I mean, we have a lot. You can have all kinds of questions, yes or no, true or false, whatever. But one thing that would be handy, we just haven't gotten to yet, is the ability to insert a photo in here so that you can see the picture. Now, you can put a picture in here, but you don't have the ability to put the picture currently in the mobile device. But it's just a matter of time before we get that done. We just haven't done it yet. Here, for example, is a sales checklist. This is ugly, so don't anybody grade me on my work here because it's ugly, but the customer never sees it. This is our central air conditioning checklist. So if we sold you an air conditioning system, we would fill this checklist out, and you can see the use of images here. So I can put in dimensions. Now, you pool people might find this handy for measuring out the area where the pool's going to go. So like when we had our pool built, they came out and surveyed our backyard. They took measurements. I would imagine you might do the same thing here. You could pick pool types and all kinds of stuff. So you can build lots of different form types.
So where does entry of this form end up?
Say again?
where does the entry that goes into this form, where does it end up, or how is it?
It would just, it becomes part of, it would be part of this list in here, and then you'd click on it, and you'd see all these fields. So you'd see a field called 5-wire thermostat required, yes or no, and you'd flip it to yes. And if you created the PDF, the yes would be checked. And it might say, if yes, then what's the length? And you'd type in the links on your mobile device. And if you outputted it to the PDF, then the PDF would, of course, have the links.
Okay.
So I'll show you a little more about that real quick here. I always run the risk of giving you more information than maybe you want, but I think you guys will want to see this, so stay tuned here. Let me open up the program that makes this happen. All right. Okay, so what we're looking at is the Aptora mobile form builder, edit templates. Let me pick a user. I'll just be the admin. Log in. Here I am. Okay, so here are the various templates that you can see. So I'll show you. Let me minimize that, minimize this, put form builder back up here. All right, so you see where it says proposal and so forth. You'll notice this is where they came from. This is the desktop application that allows you to build your own templates or your data entry forms. So you can see I have a proposal, the vehicle inspection report, etc. So let's modify the vehicle inspection report. I'll click View Fields or double-click on it, either way. You can see here the various fields. And you can see the label we give them, etc. And I can add fields if I want to, create new templates, but this is where it all happens, and you have a lot of flexibility on what kind of field you are adding to the system. So like in the case of a proposal, I could click Add a Field, and here are the fields you can add. You can add a date. You could add a drop-down menu. You could add headers and footers and flip switches and numbers and phone numbers and what we call primary selectors, like a customer selector, asset selector. You could have read-only text for notes, things you want to tell your employee. You could have a remote selector. You can have signature captures. Now, remote selectors allow you to grab information from your main database, like assets, employee names, etc. You can have single-line text, multi-line text. So let's say you want to build a drop-down menu. You give this a label, and maybe it's, maybe it is a chemical. So you have chemical. And then you put in an option here. And you could have chemical 1. And you can put in chemical 2. And you could put in chemical 3. And, of course, chemical number 4. And then once you put those in, you can change the order if you'd like. You can require that something be selected. So I can't require the template, Ahmed, you had that question earlier, but I can require you to actually deal with this particular selector if I want to. So now I've added that drop-down menu. Click OK to that, and that becomes part of it. So let's go back to the form builder, and let's go to proposal. And let's click Create New, and I'll type in the name of somebody. Click Next. Now you'll notice that we have a new field in here called Chemical. Down here it's called Chemical, and there's our list. So I could pick from all of our chemicals. And then, of course, the PDF would say Chemical and whatever value you selected. And that's how easy it is to build these forms and modify them. Follow up to that? Anybody? So I thought somebody'd ask me, how long does it take to learn all this?
How long?
It's so simple to use, you'll be doing everything in an hour. That's a total lie. No, it will take some time. Don't let anybody kid you. It always irritates me when I come across websites that say I'll be up and running in minutes. I mean, it's one thing to be up and running in minutes and not know what the heck you're doing, and it's another to really be able to take advantage of the software. This software is quite capable, but keep in mind we have lots of manuals. We have hundreds of videos on YouTube. If you go to YouTube, you'll see that we have a YouTube channel, the Aptora channel on YouTube, and you'll be able to see that we have dozens, I'm thinking hundreds of videos. We have videos built into the help system. We have a very good help system. I mentioned the manuals. We have a training department that can train you one-on-one over the internet. We also can come to you and train you, and you can come to us and we can train you here. So we make a lot of resources available to you, but it does take some time to use the software. There's no doubt about it. I'll even go so far as to say this. The people that are frustrated with us, when they get education on how to use it, they typically are very happy after they learn how to use the software. The people that are very happy are typically the ones that have learned how to use it, and it takes a little bit of dedication. Let me show you the help system, for example. Here I am looking at a work order. Just push F1 on your keyboard or hit the help button. And here's the help available to you. So here you have a detailed topic showing you the screenshot in case you want to print it. We explain every single field. We don't assume you know anything. We explain every single field, every tab. And then there's typically a video, and you play the video. And this video is on YouTube also. So here's not an hour-long video. It's a 2-minute, 5-second video explaining how to find work orders and how to fill them out. So it is well documented. You're not left alone to fend for yourself. Any other questions?
Yeah, when creating, like, say, a proposal or an invoice, I'm assuming there's a way where you enter a part or service that by default you can add a description to that if it's a frequent thing that you're adding.
Yes,
correct?
you can. Yes. A couple ways you can do that. Now, so the short answer is yes. You have the ability to go back and find an old estimate or proposal and make a copy of it, which is very handy. So you can go find an old purchase order, an old estimate, and make copies of them. That feature is throughout the software, the copy feature. Very handy. So make a copy of an estimate and just change it around. Give it a new customer name, add or subtract items, etc. The second thing you can do is you can create descriptive items. So when you drop items on the estimate, you can have descriptions of things, not just items, but actual descriptions. You can also create your own customized estimates. So let's see here. Let me, I got so many forms opened, losing track of what I had here. Go to Setup. I have dozens of templates that I can pick from right there. But we'll go back to that report writer I showed you earlier. So here I'll click Add New, and I can build my own estimate. So that way you can build your own estimate using that report designer. If you happen to like one of ours, then you could use it, and you could make a quick edit in Word. So let's say that almost always this is good enough, but you notice something that you want to change real quick. Rather than make a new style, you can simply pick an application to open this in, and you can see Adobe, Crystal Reports, HTML, Excel. One of them is Word. And I'll open it up in the application. Click OK, click OK. Here comes Word. And there is a completely editable Word document. So I can change my terms and conditions, highlight my terms and conditions, copy and paste information, etc. Now the other thing I can do is in mobile, don't forget, you can do things in mobile too. In mobile, you can also create estimates. And unlike the desktop application, we actually have a pretty unique feature here. And that is the ability, they're on credit hold. Okay, I can't make one for them. I'll go to the next guy. I have the ability to insert pre-made text. So here's the details section. I can click this button. I can search out text. I can find text that I want. I can search again, find more text, click Add. Now when I go to print it, that text will automatically be inserted in the proposal or the work order or the invoice, and it's completely editable as well. Now, where did that text come from? The mobile system has a database full of categories of text. So you can have searchable segments of text that can describe whatever you want it to. And the user can go pick those segments of text and have them dropped into anything in the mobile. Ahmed, you had a question. Go ahead.
Hi, James.
Hi.
The invoice we create, the invoice we give to the customer is different than the invoice we keep in-house. For example, we keep an itemized invoice, so it shows every single item. But when we give to the customer, it's one package price, including the labor and everything. Is there any way to hide that from the customer?
Yeah, absolutely. So check this out. I hit preview, and it showed the item on there. And I guess I didn't really have much on there, did I? So let's say I've got a very robust invoice, estimate, whatever, and I go to print that. There's a change order. I'll say don't add. All right, so we go to print this. Here's preview, and there's the line items. So I don't want them to see those line items, right? So with the flick of a switch, they are gone. Just show the total.
Perfect.
And I have options on show sales tax.
And the description can be changed?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That was just the default description, totally editable.
Perfect.
Yep, got that covered. That's pretty common for the industries we serve. Now, I don't want to discourage those of you who are in the pool business, because we have people in your business. 62% of our clients do plumbing, HVAC, and electrical. That just happens to be our bread and butter, because that's the industry that I come from, and I built this software for our own company years ago, and then we started selling it to the public. You can read about that on our website if you care to. But it's also used, the other 38% are all kinds of different companies, swimming pool, siding, roofing, a lot of landscaping, security, quite a bit of security for whatever reason, a lot of security. So it's pretty flexible. Sean, go ahead. Ahmed, water treatment? Yeah, I think we do have water treatment. Our sales staff probably would know who and know their names, but I do believe we have water treatment companies out there using the software. Certainly plumbing companies who would also do water filters and softeners. We have a lot of plumbers. So part of what plumbing companies do here in the States is water softeners and water filtration systems, reverse osmosis. So it's part of their plumbing business. And Sean, I was going to go back to you. Richard, I'll catch you right after Sean. Sean, go ahead. No? No, Sean?
I'm okay for right now.
Pardon me, Sean?
I'm okay for right now.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Your hand was up. I may have forgot to put it down. Richard, go ahead, please.
I can't tell whether it's up or down sometimes.
Yeah, I hear you. No big deal. Richard, did you have a question?
Yes. Do you have point of sale capability?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Do you have point of sale?
We do have point of sale. I'll call point of sale, we call it light on the internet. I'll give us about a B- on point of sale. It's great if you're a contracting company that occasionally has people walk in and buy things. So the software can open a cash drawer. You can have a barcode scanner. You can have a credit card swiper. At the end of the day, it'll tell you what your drawer should look like. It's not very robust. I mean, I would never try to run a hardware store with it, but it's perfect for a contractor who does some over-the-counter sales, and that's what we built it for. Does that describe what you were hoping it would do, or do you need something that you think is pretty powerful?
Well, we don't need to be Home Depot, but we have a retail store and a parts department where sales are over the counter.
It'll probably be just fine. I mean, I can think of some features that I'd like to add to it. I'd like to make it more finger-friendly, more touchscreen friendly. Right now, you can use a touchscreen, but it was really designed for a mouse. I'd like to have a little faster lookup on certain things. Like, for example, on parts, we have a nice lookup feature, but on a POS, I'd like it to be just a little bit quicker. So I think it's okay for most companies that have a counter that people come into and you do 10, 20 sales a day, something like that. I think it would be totally fine.
Okay.
I mean, it's not terrible, don't get me wrong. It's just I'm real honest about what I like and don't like. And imagine if you owned your own software company, and you'd probably tell it like it is. You'd probably tell your friends what you thought was great about it, what you thought needed work. There's nothing about the software that sucks. I can promise you that, or I wouldn't even let people leave tonight. There's no catastrophic bugs or horrible issues, but there's just things I wish we had an extra programmer today that we could get to, So point of sale is one of them. It's okay. It doesn't suck. But there's other things about the software that are way more advanced, way more refined. Now, our future for point of sales, by the way, is mobile. So what we have in mind is you using a tablet, like a 9-inch tablet on a mount, and that's going to be the new mobile. It'll be completely touch-friendly. It'll be designed for the finger. It'll work more like mobile because everything about mobile is for quick ease of use. So we're actually modifying mobile for the future to have point of sale. So the way it would work is you'd have a tablet sitting on your counter, and you'd ring it up using a mobile device, and then you could spin the mobile device around to the customer and say, sign here, please. And you could swipe their credit card right on the device, etc. So that's going to be the future of POS. We're just not there yet.
Okay.
All right. Other questions? Ahmed, you had a question, I think?
Yes. Is there a customer portal so customers can log in and view their work orders or invoices or future appointments?
Not yet. That is solid. That is solidly in the works.
Okay.
I would expect to have our customer portal done early in 2016. We are very far along with it. It's based on the mobile platform. It just looks more like a desktop application. But if anybody needs it, what Ahmed asked about was a client portal. That's what we call it. It's going to be called a client portal. It'll be a place where your customers can go to view what you want them to view, such as statements, work orders, invoices, repair history, etc. They'll log in and be able to see their information. We are roughly 80% finished with it. We're past all the hard stuff because, again, it's based on our mobile platform. So our mobile system is a whole architecture, so it makes it easy to build a POS from it. It makes it easy to build a client portal from it. And again, if I had to predict when that would be done, I'd say January. I think we could get it done before the end of the year, but the end of the year has a way of getting really, really crazy. So I would call it January. If it's mission critical for you, put me down at as the predicting the end of January to have that done. Would that be all right, or is it something you need right away?
No, that's perfect. Yeah, we don't need it right away.
I think you'll like it. It looks really nice, works really well so far. All right. Well, we're probably about at the end of our time here. I might have warned you guys out. We can always do another demo. Be sure to check out our YouTube videos. Remember, we have a lot of YouTube videos, and those are very informative. You can see videos on mobile. You can test drive mobile on our website if you want to. We do demos every Tuesday, every Thursday. I don't usually do the demos. This was a special demo. I wanted to do it myself and see what people were asking about, see what you were thinking. I like to do these about once a month.
Quick question on point of sale.
Yeah, sure.
You're looking at rolling out customer portal. Is that a portal where they'll be able to make payments as well, like for credit card or something through that portal?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. They'll definitely be able to make payments.
Okay.
And again, that's easy for us because it's already built into our mobile architecture. And I only point that out just so you don't think I'm just, dreaming here, because it's easy to do when you make software to dream. You think you can get it done in a year, and it takes 3. But the whole foundation, if you will, is already built. So, to make sure that it can process credit cards is a cinch because it's all built already. It's just not the technician putting in the credit card. It's the customer. All right. Well, I think this has been really good. This Q&A was fantastic. I enjoyed it. As I was mentioning, the demos are every Tuesday, every Thursday. We can also do private demos for you if you'd like, and get yourself signed up for another demo if you'd like to. If your company is thinking of going live in January, it's not too late. You don't have a lot of time to spare, but it definitely is not too late. We have a data migration department that can help migrate data from your old program to your new one, Total Office Manager. It's not too late to get training slots, to schedule internet training, one-on-one training, training at your location, training at ours. But we are getting close to being, at a point where it's going to be hard to get those things scheduled. So not trying to put pressure on you, but if you want to go live the first Monday of January, you probably would want to be doing something in the next week or so. Otherwise, most of our training slots will fill up. As you can imagine, people schedule training in December like crazy, and the first couple weeks of January like crazy, and it's first come, first serve. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for being on here with me. I enjoyed it. Be in touch with your salespeople if you have any other questions.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.